Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Manta on Facebook Live. This week we have our illustrious email marketing manager, John Line, to join us. We're going to be talking all things email marketing. Let's do some housekeeping first, as usual. You can follow us on Facebook. Make sure that you get those notifications when we go live. We're live every Friday at 12:30. Next week, we're going to be talking about event planning, but this week, since we're talking email marketing, send in all of those questions. We'll get to them during the live broadcast. John's going to answer all of those questions. We also have a lot of questions right now from our small business owners that we get all of the time. So we're going to start with some really high-level email marketing questions, but if you guys have more technical questions, we are happy to answer those, so we can get into the nitty-gritty. Let's get started. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, number one, why? Why? Give me the whys of email marketing. Why should small business owners invest their very precious time on email marketing?
Right. Precious time is absolutely correct. In the marketing world, there's a lot of options. It can be a bit overwhelming, but when you look at email, it actually delivers really, really well. In fact, a recent study shows that it performs 40% better than social media. So Facebook, Twitter, email actually converts new customers 40% better. So it's a really good investment.
You do realize you're saying that on Facebook.
I know, I'm on Facebook, and all of you are out there saying you're crazy. But think about it this way. How many people do you know that do not have an email address? Probably very few. Almost everyone, even my grandmother has an email address. She may not check it every day, but most people are looking at their email every day, some of them every hour.
Mine's open all day long.
Exactly. So it's on, you're at work checking your email. You're at home checking your email. You're on your phone, your tablet, checking your email. So there's very few people that don't have it today. And so it's no wonder that it's so valuable and delivers so well for these small business owners.
Okay, so you've got me sold on email marketing. We're going to do this now.
Mm-hmm.
So what tools or services that I, as a small business owner, can start using?
So to have a successful email marketing engine, you really need an ESP. So that's an email service provider. Gone are the days where you can just send something out of your Gmail or send something out of your Outlook to a customer. It's just, you need to stand out in the inbox because there's so much email coming in. So it's a really good idea to join up with an email service provider. The good news, there's a lot of options out there. The bad news, there's a lot of options out there. But don't fret, don't get worried. A great way to start is write down the needs that you have. Mm-hmm. Write down what you can realistically do every day, every week, every month with your email. Write that list down and then start looking for these email service providers. There's a lot out there, and there's a lot of articles out there where they're comparing these email service providers. And so you take your list and you find a provider that meets those needs. Mm-hmm. And that really narrows down your list. Kind of some of the big names out there I'm sure people have heard about are Constant Contact, you've got Campaign Monitor, you've got MailChimp is a good one, Emma is one of these up-and-coming companies. Lots of options out there. Just do your research, talk to your network. Do you know other business owners that are doing this sort of stuff? What's working for them? Jump on LinkedIn. I join groups. There's groups out there, email marketing gurus, stuff like that, where email marketers are really helpful. They're a unique group of people and they're very willing to help. So reach out to some people out there, ask questions, and just do your research. Just so you don't want to jump, just like anything else, you don't want to jump into anything you can't handle or that's too much. Keep it simple, start small, and if you see the results, you can always, add on to your plan.
Right. Well, and a lot of those services have bundles with other marketing services that they provide too.
Exactly. And you can always, there's a lot of companies that don't have set contracts. You can add on next month if things start working out for you. So definitely email service providers where I'd start. And because emails come such a long way, you know, these companies have a lot of additional tools that come with it. So
Right.
start with them, and you can kind of bundle everything into one, just like you said.
Right. Okay. So now I've got my email service provider. I'm sold on doing email. Who am I sending this to? How do I build my list? How do I get a list of these email addresses? Am I buying? Am I begging? How do I get emails?
Begging's okay. No, I'm kidding, but buying, absolutely not. We'll start with
Big
what
no.
not to do.
Okay.
Okay, I know I get a lot of email saying, hey, we've got lists of, business owners, or we've got lists of people in email marketing. Don't do it. Whatever you do, please think about it. These lists oftentimes, they don't validate the email addresses on these lists. They don't check in to see if they still exist. And so those things hurt you as an email sender. The biggest one being hitting a bad email address. The Gmails, the Outlooks of the world are going to ding you for that.
Oh.
And that's the last thing you want to do, is have them say, hey, we don't trust this sender, let's send them direct to spam.
Oh, yeah. Don't
Another
want
thing,
to end up in the spam box.
another thing to think about with these lists is put yourself, like, if you had gotten put on a list and you started receiving emails from someone you don't know, like,
It's not going to sell you.
yeah, it's not going to sell you. You're not going to trust them. And that's another thing that goes into your sender score, is how many people are opening your emails, engaging with them, how many of them are unsubscribing. Those are things that you get docked on. So the lists are really a bad idea. So I urge you to stay away from buying lists. There's plenty of ways to gain an email subscriber list without selling yourself.
Okay, so what do we do then? What are the do's?
So there's a lot of options. I think one way is for a retailer. Let's say you have a brick and mortar store. They come in and they buy something.
Mm-hmm.
Put a list right there, a sign-up sheet or an iPad. There's a lot of apps available to just sign up right there. Even if you have a Square account, you can get an email address right there at the counter. At this point, they trust you. They've bought a product from you. They know what you have to offer, and they're gonna be an engaged subscriber.
Right.
Or on your receipt, put a sign-up form or direct them to your website to sign up.
There you go.
Really easy option for, and obviously that's for people with brick and mortar. Another one would be taking your current clients and asking them to refer a friend. These return customers are highly engaged in your company.
Mm-hmm.
They can speak to your, how they trust you. And so why not have them refer a friend? Just like you'd refer them to come to your store, refer them to join your email list.
Right.
And speaking of returning customers, one good thing is to get their email address is a loyalty program.
Okay.
So, a lot of people have those punch cards. Why not do it electronically? Get their email address, give them a discount, give them the for your 10th visit, but require their email address to join.
There you go.
I've done it several times myself, and it really works out where you're both getting something.
Exactly.
And then I think the last thing I'd recommend is, if you have the ability, the tools, and have a good website, you can always do a pop-up on your website. Thanks for stopping by. Join our email list to get current updates, offers, coupons. Everyone has an email address. If you can give them something valuable, something they can come back in, it's a great way to get someone on your list.
Yeah, tell them, hey, we're gonna only give our email subscribers this particular coupon or offer.
Exactly.
They're ready to sign up. They
Exclusivity.
want that.
Exactly.
Okay, so how often are we sending emails? Again, we don't have a lot of time as business owners. How often should I be going through this whole process and sending an email?
Great question. And unfortunately, there's no magic number. There's no specific answer. But I'd like to think of it as putting yourself in the shoes of your customer. Okay, you certainly receive emails.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you want to receive an email? How often do you interact with a company? And what makes you open or click an email?
Right.
I think in this case, if you want to get more specific, once a day, probably too much.
Oh, okay, that's
Once
good to know.
every other month, maybe too little. The idea is you want to stay top of mind, but you don't want to be annoying. You don't want people to start ignoring your emails or unsubscribing, sending you to the junk. You don't want to be thought of as a spammer. So think quality over quantity is a good idea. And it's always a good idea to keep that engagement thing in your sender score top of mind.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is have Gmail or Yahoo to start looking at you and saying, this person's sending way too much email, or no one's interacting with it. So just try and find a right balance. And when you're first starting out, just start small. Sending one a month might be a good idea. And then as you get better at it, as you find your time, see how often you're going to be able to do it, then start adding a few more emails. Just stay valuable. Make sure you're sending value to the customer. Don't just send an email to send an email.
Right. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how to get sign-ups for email from your website, but do small business owners have to have a website in order to have a successful email plan?
Not necessarily. It certainly helps.
Okay.
There's a lot more things you can do with a website. You think about it as the goal of an email is to engage the reader and drive an action. If you have a website, this is a little bit easier, especially with a short attention span and people on their phones all the time. If you can give them a button right there in the email and create an action for them to do immediately, that certainly helps. But it's not, the end of the world if you don't have one. Think about if you're trying to create and drive an action, try an offer. Whether it's 10% off, 20% off, this can help. Try a coupon. Everybody loves coupons, getting a discount, they feel special. And so this drives the action of bringing someone to your store. Or if you're in the service industry, send them an offer, and it drives them to, purchase your service or an additional service. So
upsells.
Upcoming events is another good one. It's a way to stay top of mind, bring people back into your store. So you don't have to have a website. It can help, but there's ways to make an email successful without having one.
That's good to know. Okay, so let's get into some of the kind of insider lingo. All right, what's a triggered email? What does that mean?
Triggered email. So they're thought of as, you can call them triggered emails, you can call them transactional emails. It's really an email that comes based on an action. So in most cases, this happens in real time. So someone does an action, and an ESP or an email service provider will tell itself to fire an email to this person because they did something. I think the simplest one is a receipt.
Yeah.
Someone's on your website, they make a purchase, and you fire them a receipt. It's something we've all become accustomed to in the year of 2016. Another good example would be a welcome email. So you join a website, you join Manta, you join another site out there, you sign up, you give them their email address, your first, last name, and they send you a note. Say, hey, welcome to our website, welcome to our company, here's what you can expect. These transactional or triggered emails perform really well. And it's really because it's this learned behavior that we have as consumers now. It's, I did something, where's my email?
Right.
So unlike a newsletter where you know, you're not necessarily sitting by the computer waiting for it. These transactional ones you are. You're like, I bought something on Amazon, send me my receipt.
Right.
And you're almost watching the inbox. So they can perform really well. You know, another buzz term out there right now is marketing automation. Very similar triggered emails, you know, but these things can happen to you, or can be fired for more than just purchasing something. Let's say you read an article somewhere, and now that business knows, hey, you're interested in marketing articles, so they can send you a note about other marketing articles that you'd be interested in. A lot of these ESPs have marketing automation built in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not a requirement, but it's something you might want to think about. You know, just again, add it to your list of needs if it's something you're interested in. And when you're vetting these ESPs, take a look. Do they offer it? And do you really have time to set these things up?
Right.
If you do, I think you're going to see some great results.
Well, more personalization, the better, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, results can certainly be impressive, and it's something I'd recommend, you know, if it's something that fits into your needs.
Okay, great. Good examples. Okay, so let's do another buzzword, segmented lists. Mm-hmm. What is it? What's a segmented list? And what are some good examples of how small business owners can do that for themselves?
Sure. So a segmented list is kind of exactly how it sounds. It's you take your whole list and you break it down into a segment. The idea here is you can focus your message or your offer, your coupon to a specific audience. You know, it gives that audience a feeling of, hey, this business knows me, they know what I want, they know what I need, and it, you know, they really know who I am. And so, again, this is where results start improving. You know, this is where you get away from blasting everyone on your list to just target a specific audience that you know is going to interact with the email. You know, an example would be, let's say you own a small boutique and you're going to have a special on women's scarves. Okay, likely not everyone on your list is interested in women's scarves, but you know,
maybe just the women.
Maybe just the women. Maybe take the men off the list. Sorry, men. Maybe you are into women's scarves. You want to buy your lady a scarf, but in most cases, you just want to target, you know, that audience that your special is for.
Exactly.
So, you know, with an email service provider, you can very easily target just females on your list and say, hey, you know, we're having a special on scarves next week. Come on in, get 20% off. You can drill down even more if you wanted to, and say, who has bought a scarf from me in the past? So drilling down and getting even more specific, like, I know these people are interested in scarves, so let's send them a note about our special.
Or a new scarf that came in.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't have to be a special, it's just keeping them interested. Let them know there's something new in there. And, you know, the key here, of course, is data. And it's a big word these days, and it sounds super scientific, but it's really about just knowing your customer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, require certain things when they sign up for your loyalty program, or require that when they sign up for your newsletter, or just get to know your customer.
Yep.
And keep track of that.
We know you know your customers. I mean,
right. And just log it in your files, in your spreadsheets, or in your CRM if you're lucky enough to have one. The more things you know about them, the more personalized you can get, and the more return you're going to get on your email sends.
Great advice. Okay, so we talked a little bit about your saying something about a subscriber score and how that contributes to you getting sent to a spam box.
Yes.
How do we get out of the spam box?
Yeah, it really is simple. It sounds like a lot, but in every ISP, so the Gmails, the Yahoos, unfortunately, they all score you differently.
Okay.
So it can...
That's not helpful.
No, it's not helpful.
Come on, Google.
There are a few things we do know. One we talked about is don't send to bad email addresses.
Right.
That is probably the biggest one these days. You know, that it used to be unsubscribes, it used to be certain keywords that triggered you going to the inbox. But the biggest one right now is sending to bad email addresses. So don't buy lists.
Okay.
Stay away from those lists. Keep up to date with your customer list. If you notice, in using your ESP, you can see like whose email is not valid anymore. So don't send to them anymore.
Makes sense.
Another thing is, we talked about as well, is engagement. So how many people are opening and clicking your emails? That goes into your sender score. Gmail is going to look at you and say, okay, they're sending a lot of emails, but 50% of the people are opening. That's a good thing. If you're sending a bunch of emails and only 1% of people are opening them, that's not good. So, and that's kind of where sending valuable emails is important. Sending to a segmented list is nice. Rather than sending to everyone, you're sending to females about new scarves or a scarf special. So the more segmented, the more personal you get, that's going to help your sender score as well. And lastly, I mentioned it before, certain keywords will trigger the spam folder. Sending
free offer from a Persian prince, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Or free in all caps throughout your email or in your subject line. Those still trigger some issues with these ISPs. So try and stay away from that. Just think about the things that you like to receive in your own inbox. And that's going to, go a long way with if you get marked as a spammer or not.
Yes, let's stay away from spamming.
Exactly.
Okay, so you were giving out some numbers like open rates and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are those kinds of metrics that we really need to be focused on?
Sure. I think open rate is certainly one, and it's an easy one. It's how many people are opening your emails that you're sending to. So a percentage of people that are opening. This kind of tells you a lot about your brand name and how people are reacting to it.
Okay.
Whether you're trustworthy or not for them to open an email. It goes a long way what your subject line is. Is it working? Is it driving people to open your emails? Next, if you drill down a little more, it's kind of your click activity. So how many people are clicking on your emails?
Okay.
If you want to look more at engagement, it's, okay, of the people who've opened my email, how many of those are clicking? Mm-hmm. That kind of gives you an idea of like the open rate or the subject line is working, the content in the email is driving a click. So that term is called a CTOR, or click-through to open rate.
Okay.
And that's getting a little more scientific, where you're looking specifically at the people who opened the email, how many of them clicked through. Click rate looks at, I sent 50,000 people an email and 1,000 people of them clicked, but it doesn't really tell the full story, whereas a CTOR gives you a little bit more detail about subject line, content within the email, call to action, clicking through. If you want to drill down even more, it's look at your conversions. So if the email had a coupon in it,
okay,
how many people made that final action of using the coupon?
And that's the big goal, right?
Exactly. It's a big goal. Even if it's just sending them to a blog post, you want to know how many people read that blog post.
Right.
So look at those conversion numbers, and you can kind of put the whole story together, and look at things like, geez, I got a great open rate.
Yeah.
I got a good click-through rate, but people didn't use the coupon.
Oh.
So that tells you, okay, the trail kind of ends at the coupon. Maybe the offer isn't very good.
Right.
Maybe it's just not interesting. So you can kind of tie everything together and really hone in on what's working and what's not, and make improvements.
Okay, so say that of the people that opened my email, almost all of them clicked through, took an action, but so few actually opened it. That signals to me there's something wrong with my subject line, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how do we write good subject lines? Give us your secrets.
So I think this is something that's constantly changing, but some of the secrets are keep it simple and keep it short. You know, you think about opening an email on your mobile device or even in Gmail, and think about our short attention spans.
Yeah.
Like, keep it short. I like to think of the 40 to 50 character limit. You know, just because you want it to fit in that inbox subject line. So on your mobile phone,
You can read the whole thing.
it's not unlimited.
Right.
You know, it's very short. You want to be able to read the whole thing, or get that action word in the front.
Right.
You know, if it's an offer, if it's you know, change in hours, you know, get those action things to the front to create an urgency. Like, get their interest right away. If you've been keeping good data and you've got an ESP, get personalized. Use their first name. That's a simple one to start with. You know, put their first name in the subject line, and it's like, oh, hey, this person knows me. It's directed to me, and it creates a little bit of sense of, you know, specialness, if that's a word.
So, hey Heather, here's new scarves you'll love.
Exactly, to
All right.
tie in our story. And another thing is, you know, emojis are kind of fun. You know,
Yes.
play around with those. You know, there's put a clock in there if there's a limited time offer, or an hourglass. You know, create some kind of fun, actionable item. You know, the key here with subject lines, honestly, is, you know, you need to stand out. So what are you going to do to stand out? Think about how many emails you get in your inbox every day. You know, some of them are from grandma or your daughter, or and there's a lot of retailers. You know, you've signed up for Macy's to get their special offers.
Yep.
So what are you going to do to stand out? And it's you know, keeping it simple, actionable, and interesting.
Great. Okay, so you've mentioned mobile before, being able to see the subject lines. Should I be concerned about mobile? Should I be thinking about mobile for email?
Thinking about it, certainly, I wouldn't get too concerned, only because if you've researched your ESPs, you've signed up with one, they've all thought about this for you.
Oh, good.
Which is very, it's very helpful. So, you know, it's definitely something you want to think about when you're talking about your subject line, the message inside your email. So, keep it simple again. Use a lot of white space. You know, don't have a long email where people are scrolling through.
Right.
Keep it simple. Think about, you know, we no longer want to say click on this button, because we're not clicking anymore. You know, we're pressing.
Oh.
So,
There's this button.
you know, think about terms like that. And speaking of buttons, make them big. You know, I've got fat fingers. Make sure I can click on it easily and get to, you know, again, you're driving an action, you want them to click, or press.
Yes.
Make sure those buttons are big and clear.
And I can do it with my thumb, because that's how I hold my phone.
Exactly. And you know, going back to signing up with a company where you can send your emails, they've got mobile responsive templates, as they call it. So, you know, everything's shrunk to the screen. Everything's easy to read. You don't have to scroll across to read everything. So when you're researching them, make sure they have that. They should. Any good ESP now has mobile responsive templates and tools. So if you find one that doesn't, you might want to stay away, because it's 2016.
Yeah.
They should be caught up. So yeah, it's something to think about, but don't get scared, because there's a lot of tools out there to help you.
Okay, great. We're glad about that. I couldn't imagine trying to do that on my own.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that small business owners should keep in mind that we haven't already talked about, or maybe the top thing they should keep in mind when they're just starting their email campaigns?
Yeah, I think, you know, we actually have talked about it, but keep it simple. I mean, you don't want to overwhelm yourself.
Right.
You know, make sure you're getting permission from these folks to email them.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep things simple within your email. Attention spans are short. Grab their attention right away. Bring value. Something I talked about, I don't think we went over, is a call to action. That's like the command or the term you're using to get them to do something. Make sure it's strong. People are checking email at a stoplight. You shouldn't do this. I don't recommend it. But we know they are, or they're doing it in between meetings. So you've got to keep it valuable. Keep the call to action very strong. Get them onto your website. Get them into your store.
Right.
Something that might be simple is when you're starting out is a happy birthday message. So this is something that is very well known as great performing. People feel special. So keep track of their birthday and send them a happy birthday message. Maybe send them an offer. Even just a note makes people feel good. And they say, hey, that's great. This company sent me a birthday message. They know me. And really, starting with something that works makes you feel better as a marketer or as a business owner. Like, hey, I sent my first campaign and it had a 30 to 50% open rate. It's something to celebrate.
Right,
something to
definitely.
get your confidence up and makes you keep going. So start with something works. We talked about a welcome message. Start with that. If you can make that happen, they sign up for your email list. Send them a note. Hey, thanks for signing up. We look forward to seeing you back in the store. These get great open rates. People feel welcomed, and it's something that's going to make you feel good as a marketer.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
How can people sign up for Manta's emails?
So, simply by joining Manta,
Yep.
You're going to get some great emails from us. If you've been with us for a while and maybe you haven't heard from us, make sure you check your Preference Center out and sign up for our great newsletters. We've got a lot of great things going here at Manta, a lot of tips and advice that get delivered right to your inbox. So we'd love to have you, and we'd love to send you some great advice right there in your inbox.
Thanks, John. Next
Thank
week,
you.
we're going to be talking about event planning. So join us at 12:30 on Fridays, Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you next week.